On Insightful Inspiration, Isabelle Landreville chats with a mosaic of brilliant individuals that help shape the insights industry. We live stream episodes to LinkedIn, and you can listen on all major podcast networks. Join us, and please subscribe so you won't miss our guests' insightful inspiration and hear what drives them and how they get inspired to be successful in the insights industry and beyond. Insightful Inspiration is brought to you by Sylvester & Co., an award-winning qualitative research firm with half a century of experience.
Welcome back to episode 11 of Insightful Inspiration, your go-to podcast for discovering the secret to understanding and connecting with diverse audiences. Consumer trends tend to change extremely quickly. So how can companies keep up while also driving deep into actually understanding the human behind their consumers? Well, let's find out. I'm your host, Isabelle Landreville, President and Chief Insight Seeker at Sylvester & Co., where we've been dedicated to understanding people for 5 decades. I'm thrilled to have a very special guest with us today. I first ran across her at the recent IIEX conference out in Austin, where she dazzled the crowd with her opening keynote. I'm excited to be joined by Mimi Sherlock, VP of Global Consumer Intelligence, Nourish at International Flavor and Fragrances. With over 2 decades of experience, Mimi brings actionable insights to life, facilitating front-end innovation and guiding teams with an insight-led approach. As an invited speaker and leader at the Creative Problem Solving Institute, she has explored the intersection of creative thinking and brain physiology. Mimi is also the founder of Sherlock Creative Thinking and co-author of Once Upon an Innovation. Get ready for an insightful and inspiring conversation. Welcome to the show, Mimi.
Hi, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Great to be here. I'm so happy we're connecting again. This is amazing.
I know.
With my raspy voice, we're doing it.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds
awesome. So how about, sorry?
Your voice, it keeps it, engaging to listen to that.
Thank you. And so let's get started with maybe, taking a step back and maybe grounding our audience in sort of what trend intelligence actually is. So how about you start with that?
Yeah, so trend intelligence is really about trying to understand the trends that will impact your business, right? And it's about understanding what's changing so that you can really be future-proof and anticipate the changes. Sometimes I think about it really kind of simply as really paying attention to what's going on in the world and very deliberately tracking those trends that will have an influence on your business and on your future.
Mm-hmm. And how can you tell if a trend is actually going to have an impact and should be sort of something you keep an eye on versus maybe just a fad or something that seems to be like a bubble, so to speak? Can you sort of unpack that a bit more?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think it's something that a lot of people don't have a lot of clarity on. And for us at IFF, at International Flavors and Fragrances, we spend a lot of time getting everyone kind of on the same page with what is that difference, because it is really important. There are a lot of different fads that come and go. But when we're thinking about a trend, we're really looking at something where we're seeing kind of these signals of change happening. And one signal of change doesn't really make a trend, right? You're looking for a series of things that are really coming together to create a pattern of real change across a lot of different elements, right? So like we think about, for example, we talk about this trend of natural healing. I think that's probably a good example. And, it's not just that we saw, a couple products on the grocery store or drugstore aisle that were more natural. We did see that, but we also saw things happening in the world. We see things like there's a compendium that's available now that democratizes herbal and plant medicine to make it accessible to people. We saw that come about in, about a year and a half ago. We see that, especially after COVID, the conversation that's happening with people and practitioners of all kinds is about getting outdoors and the power of nature, and taking a walk, and how people are talking about how rejuvenating that makes them feel and how healthy that is for them, and how they've been starting to do that more. We look at the ideas, I think it's happening in Canada, where doctors actually for the first time are prescribing national park passes for people. Because of, the power of nature, and we see that, forest bathing candles are being sold at IKEA.
And isn't this whole bubble around unearthing is kind of a thing now? There's books, you can ground yourself, you can buy a mattress that can ground you. Like there's a whole walking barefoot somewhere or something.
Absolutely. And, we've known for a long time, for example, in the world of creative thinking, the power of walking, and there's a lot of good data on that. But these are in the more becoming, emerging in the mainstream. And so, that's when we say, okay, natural healing is a trend, not just a fad. That it's a trend. It's happening from all these different places, all these different kinds of forces. You can pick up these signals, and together those signals make a trend. But I would say sometimes the single signal is just, one thing that you see that becomes popular. Like I was joking about cottage cheese. Cottage cheese seems to be the latest health trend, especially on TikTok. So, that might be a fad, but the trend of people wanting higher protein and healthier food is what we're looking at and what we're actually tracking.
Yeah. Do you use trend intelligence differently if you want to be part of the brands or the people that are inspiring the trends and creating those trends versus the ones that maybe are following the trends?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think a lot of times the people that are kind of creating the trends, the brands, probably have a deeper understanding of people and of some of the drivers of change that are happening in the world, and they are the first people to act on them, right? I mean, that is how trends start. You kind of, trends are about being able to anticipate the future, but the future is happening at different points in time in different pockets. So I think the people that are really creating more of those trends have much more awareness of some of those forces of change that are happening versus the people that are looking to really just jump on those trends, might be looking at it more at, say, a market level or kind of a closer in level, where they're looking around and seeing things and jumping on those. But if you want to create them, it's really understanding, what does it mean that, the world is changing in terms of whether that has to do with the economic forces at play or the environmental forces at play. That's when you can start kind of creating some trends based on that understanding. So I would say that's the biggest difference probably is just at what point of view you're looking at trends, what type of trends. There's lots of types of trends.
Oh, really? Do you?
Yeah.
Sorry, you opened up something. What are the different
and I think that's another thing that, the word trend gets used a lot. And I know at my company, people talk about all different kinds of trends. And they call a lot of things trends that maybe aren't trends. But you have to realize that, there are trends kind of operating at different levels. So you've got societal trends, things that are happening in the world, these kind of big mega trends that are happening in terms of just the understanding, let's say, of mental health or gut health or things in the health area. How is that affecting people? People are realizing, wow, maybe I want to be more proactive in taking care of my health. And you've got lifestyle trends where people are kind of reacting to the forces of change going on in the world, those mega trends, and they're adapting their lifestyles. Maybe they're having new behaviors. Maybe they're having new wants and needs. So we talk a lot about lifestyle trends and kind of understanding people. And then, you've got consumer trends, and those might look different, whether you're looking at food and beverage trends or interior design trends. But those look very different from one another. And I think one of the things that helps people when they want to really tap into trend intelligence is an understanding that there are trends kind of at different time levels, right? You've got these longer term trends bubbling in the world and society that are kind of brewing and having an impact on people. And then you've got these people trends that are having a force in changing the way people behave and what people are looking for. And then you've got product trends, right? Where maybe you've got colors and shapes and imagery that things that are trending. And those are kind of those short, medium, and long-term trends that we track within our trend intelligence, because we want to have that big holistic view of those.
Mm-hmm. I feel like you have to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but listening to you, I feel like you have to still have a strong sense of who you are as a brand, as a company, and where you stand. Maybe there's some trends, like those mega trends, the societal trends that you're talking about, that you just feel like, you know what, we just need to, we don't have a choice. Whereas others, you might have a choice to position yourself on it, either as a disruptor or not. Is that a fair sort of interpretation of?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some trends are going to be more meaningful to your brand than others. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes to help even brands be more creative, I think sometimes, maybe they consider themselves more a health and wellness brand or not a health and wellness brand. So they're always going to be paying attention to some of those trends that are going on there. One of the things we always encourage our customers to do is to look at some trends that are obviously kind of in line with your brand and make sense for your brand, and then shake it up a little bit and look at some trends that maybe you wouldn't normally pay attention to, that are going around in a completely parallel world that maybe you don't think have anything to do with your brand, and see what's going on. Because a lot of times there's some creative ahas when you look at that you can leverage and borrow from another world. But definitely, every brand doesn't have to act on every trend, nor could they or should they. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fair. So there's still a strategic aspect to it at the end of the day. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
How does it help? How does that trend analysis and figuring out those trends, and maybe there's intersections, as you were saying, how does it help drive innovation in companies?
Yeah, I think, trends really are about anticipating the future, right? So having good trend intelligence really just helps you navigate the changes that are happening, which we know are pretty constant, and these days somewhat volatile and can be a little bit disruptive. So a lot of times I like to use this analogy of the weather, right? Like, you go outside and maybe you have to walk somewhere or drive somewhere, and all of a sudden it starts raining, and you didn't realize that. So, maybe you're walking and you have some papers or a magazine in your hand. Okay. And then you can be agile and you can adapt and you can be creative and you can put that over your head to kind of shield you from the rain. We do need to be agile and reactive. But to me, to be innovative, it would help to know that it's going to rain and know, some other paths you might be able to take to make sure you get there, quicker or, more easily. So I think it's about this idea of, being able to anticipate what's happening and think about different directions and different possibilities. Because today, some of those, that rain is coming from different directions, and, we're getting a lot of curveballs here. So to be able to visualize it and see it, I think helps people innovate. And the other piece of it is to be able to have a common language and a common vision for what's changing with your teams. Because then as a team, everyone can understand, oh yes, we see this together. We understand that this trend is going to be impacting our consumers or our business or our supply chain. And because we have a common language, we can problem solve easier together. So I think, both of those are ways that I think trend intelligence really helps with innovation.
Yeah, so you're not as reactive to the marketplace. You're a bit more active, proactive, a bit more strategic about it all.
For sure. I think it totally enables that. Totally enables
Yeah.
being more strategic.
And so how do you bridge the gap between sort of your world and mine, which is kind of yours as well, but trend intelligence and sort of human insights? How do you trend that, sort of bridge that gap or bring that together?
Yeah. So to me, it's an exercise in connecting the dots, right? That we both do, but maybe in more in one world than the other. But I think the way to bridge that is really kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, in that you really don't just want to be watching the trends happen. At the brand level or at the at the consumer level, you really want to go beyond that and already be tracking trends that are happening around the world. What's happening with the economy that's making everyone feel so anxious, and changing the way they think about spending their money and their time. What's happening in the world of demographics, where we're finding more multiculturalism in almost every community that we're in, and people wanting a broader range of options. What's happening there, and really make sure you're looking at not just the trends, like what are they, but why are they? What are those forces of change that are having effect on people, that are actually changing the way people are thinking? And I think, to me, that's the way you kind of bridge that, is by seeing, okay, yes, we can understand that consumers are buying this or liking this over that, but why is that? So I think the trends, kind of the lifestyle trends and the societal trends, help you to bridge that. And really, it's all about empathy. I think at the end of the day, we're looking at trend intelligence and insights to gain empathy, to just understand people and be able to create things that meet their needs. And I think, both trend intelligence and all types of consumer insight work, sometimes I don't even really think of them as that different.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think there's something, and there's something around, like you keep saying, the world. And I think the world, I've been at this for a really long time, and I feel like the world is a smaller place now than it has been. But maybe trends play out locally differently. Would that be a good place to start when it comes to that human insight aspect? It's sort of understanding the trend and then sort of seeing how it plays out locally.
For sure, because trends do show up differently. They're expressed differently. I think it's the expression of, some of those big trends, they're happening everywhere, but they're going to be expressed in different countries differently, in different regions. They're going to be expressed in different categories differently. How are the trends in health and wellness expressed in food and beverage, and how are they expressed in home design? Or in architecture, or in travel. So that's absolutely, I think, a really important way to think about it and understand it. And you have to get more specific insight to understand the effect that a trend's having on a very specific brand or product or category.
Yeah. And do you feel like, and I guess it depends on the consumer, and I always keep on saying, well, it depends on who you're talking to. I guess everybody's, in my mind, still quite unique, even though there's trends and insights and whatnot.
Yeah.
But does it are consumers, are people aware of trends and
Mhm.
necessary, maybe the early adopters more, but I feel our mainstream consumers kind of aware of trends and use trends, um, sort of in a more aware fashion or more conscious fashion, I guess. Do you think?
In general, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think they are spending that much time with that, or thinking about that. Or maybe, people are certainly having conversations, comparing. Um, I think, like you said, some people are more interested in trying really new things more than others. Um, but I think, everyone's having their own experience, but the forces that are changing in the world are the same forces. And
Mm,
so people are feeling the effect of the force, and maybe they don't experience it quite the same way. Um, but I don't think they're probably too conscious of a lot of that,
yeah. Yeah.
you know.
And in your experience, do you feel like people locally people are just more consciously, unconsciously a bit more um, sort of influenced by world trends versus local trends? Is the world getting smaller, like truly
It
getting
seems,
smaller?
I agree with you. It does feel like it's getting smaller, and I think especially some of the things that are happening are kind of disruptive for people, right? The
Mm,
whole world experienced COVID. It didn't
yep.
happen in a pocket. That
Hmm.
was, hugely affecting people
Yeah.
in so many different ways, right? Um, I think about, unfortunately, it's things that are a little bit more negative, like people are seeing now much more often and much more locally, these extreme weather events that are
Hmm.
happening everywhere. So it is kind of getting smaller, right? Because more people are seeing some of the changes that are happening more easily, more often,
Hmm.
because of our digital world, and our global news, and our access to information, um, and the connection, of course, that people are having, especially on social media.
Yeah. I feel like the weather and COVID are probably the most the most significant examples. Like right off the bat, you understand how a global trend can be experienced and play out so differently locally, and even with regards to different individuals.
Yeah,
It was just a collective experience, but
yeah,
um, felt and lived or survived in
yeah,
such an intimate, individual way.
yeah,
So many levels. Yeah, I think they're fabulous examples of how it plays out. I guess the other thing too, I was reading the other day that maybe because I'm raising in Gen Zer and I have that top of mind, but um, what is the trend life cycle shorter nowadays? And where I'm coming from with this question is the fact that I was reading that our attention span is shorter than it ever was,
yeah,
whether you be a baby boomer to a Gen Z. There's all this notion of 1.0, 2.0, and the minute you get a 2.0 out there, they want 3, 4, and it's shorter.
yeah.
Um, does that play out, or have you seen anything from a trend analysis standpoint, a trend standpoint to that fact?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, Absolutely have that trends happen faster and faster, especially a lot of the work that I do is in the flavor business, and
Yeah.
food and beverage. Um, and things are evolving very, very quickly, and it's very hard to keep up. And that's, to me, really played out in that we can't track trends the same as we used to, especially when you're talking about food and beverage trends. Food and beverage trends used to happen by things being introduced kind of at the fine dining level by these super innovative chefs around the world. And then they would kind of trickle down, and at some point they'd maybe get into retail, and you'd start seeing some things that trickle down into retail. And then you start seeing things, eventually you see it at McDonald's, or you see it more in a mainstream at the grocery store. But that's not how they move anymore. They happen on TikTok, right? And this is where my cottage cheese example is. I just did this TikTok analysis, and I was like, what is up with cottage cheese? I had no idea. Cottage cheese and pickles.
Are they just eating it? Are they playing with it? Like, are they using it as how?
They're
what's
eating it. They're creating, Gen Z, and I have 3 Gen Zers myself, that are all, young adults, and figuring out that they have to learn how to cook if they want to eat, something, because they're not having, meals fed to them all the time. And it's all this, a lot of influencers showing these people how to cook good, healthy food, but easy, super simple, super easy,
okay.
And so all these things you can do with cottage cheese, and how you can create healthy indulgence with cottage cheese and the protein that they are very much aware of. And then on the other side, you've got Gen Zers who are really into celebrating small moments and rewarding themselves with really indulgent and very wonderful snacks. And so you've got that happening too at the same time, which is kind of a good example of a counter trend, right? Yeah. Where once you have a strong trend, you usually have a strong counter trend, right on the other side of it. But yes, this is how, in my world, the trend tracking has absolutely changed. If you're not paying attention to what people are talking about in social media, you're missing a lot of understanding about, what are the most important elements for this, we're talking about Gen Z consumers, when you're creating, brand extensions and food products. It has to be simple. It has to be able to go in the air fryer. It has to be,
no. And so if it used to funnel down to the people. I feel like democratization is now that's a perfect example of democratization, where the trends actually come from the people and go, do they go up? What's the next step after TikTok?
I think they go everywhere. Right.
No, so there isn't a direct line.
Going up and down. It's going top to bottom and bottom to top.
So your job is more complex than ever, isn't it?
It's pretty interesting, right? It's changed a lot. That's for sure. I think it's changed a lot. And I think that does require changing methodologies and trying new methodologies, and kind of being somewhat agile, right? That the word we all know and love, the word of the decade. But yes, I think insights professionals of all kinds, right? Our jobs have been changing and are changing quite a bit.
Yeah, I haven't had a phone conversation with someone in a really long time, I have to say. Not that it was my go-to, but
yeah, right.
Yeah. People don't.
And I think I'm saying, as insights professionals, I don't know if you're seeing this, but people want more from us now. I think, I know when I started out, which has been a while now, but when I started out, it was so much about collecting data and sharing data and insights. And that was the job. That was a job. And it didn't go that much beyond that. But now I feel like that's actually becoming less of my job, and more of my job is activating insights and facilitating innovation and showing people how to use these as springboards for creative thinking and for innovation and for strategic planning. that didn't used to necessarily be the job of the insights professionals. I don't know if you're seeing that.
Yeah, I'm seeing it. I think because I do qual only, it's always been a bit closer to the strategy than maybe the execution. But I I rarely, so to speak, I don't report back, and not that I used to, but there's no reporting back. It's not they said people are not asking me for consumer feedback anymore.
Yes.
Or what people thought about it. I think we did a really good job of, as an industry, maybe us, the two of us through our careers, but I feel like people are coming to me, what does this mean? And so what should I do with it? I think we did a really good job of saying there's a real piece of the puzzle that can empower you to make sound decisions. I think we did a really good job of saying we don't have to be on the sidelines as a nice to know, like embed us, put us at, at the table where the action is happening, because the action's going to have more sense if you factor us in.
People are realizing that they're hungry to make better insight-led decisions, right? Because they have to now. They have to.
But I think that's a more competitive place, a crowder place, a smaller world, like a smaller world with more stuff happening in it. I still think that culture, and there's still a local aspect to it. There's still culture that plays out of it. The legal system is kind of plays into it. Like there's this whole thing about, only in Quebec is it by law that you need winter tires and summer tires. So only in Quebec does IKEA actually suggest things to do with 2 spare sets of tires in your home, which I think is, it could be a global trend of different things, but that's such a localized kind of expression to it.
Reality.
And I think that's very, I think that's what's exciting about it. It's more challenging, but it's exciting about it. This notion that you have more of a holistic view, but then you still have to go in deep and sort of look at the micro aspect of it.
And I think understand, why is it different right here than it is over there, and being able to see that and to be able to understand the why behind it just keeps getting more and more important.
What do you see as the biggest challenges for people in our sphere, in our line of work today?
I think it's the pace, probably. The pace of change and the pace of the cycles, because it is a lot to keep up, and there are so many different sources of intelligence and sources of insight, and people are being bombarded with data and insights. And I think a challenge is to be able to sift through some of that for us, and be able to really kind of pinpoint what is it that if we can articulate it and if we can understand it, would have the most impact for our customers or for our clients or for the consumer, out of all the things that are happening. So I think it's really just being able to stay a little bit more focused in a way, if that makes sense. I mean, I feel like there's a challenge for me. So
but I think focus is the path to success, because if we lose our focus, then it slows us down. So I think like the studies we do are so much more focused, or I put more stress on the brief. Like in the last episode, we did we just double clicked on the brief and the power of a good brief.
I need to go back and watch that.
Nick was awesome. But there's something about focus, and that comes back to, because if you really focus on what it is you need to figure out, then you don't lose track. You don't lose sight. And maybe that's also I don't know about you, but that's something I've also seen. I've seen, like, I don't do general. Well, there's something about even the briefs are like the objectives are a bit more precise.
Mm-hmm.
The desired outcome is a bit more fleshed out versus we want to explore. Like I haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen I want to explore as an
Mm-hmm.
action verb in a brief in a really long time.
Yeah. Yeah. On my end, we do get kind of a fair amount of those, and they're more challenging
Mm,
because our customers, and it kind of goes back to how our job's changing. Our job is to deal with this glut of change that's
yeah.
affecting people, and so we definitely, I'd say it's become more extreme. We either get the all out, like, what is the future of this product, or we get something more specific. To me, there's less in the middle, maybe just because of the role that I'm playing in my company. But yeah, it's sometimes it's super focused, and the other times it's extremely, like, really be our consultant and tell us what we should do next.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
what's the type of ask or the type of brief that that really gets the best out of trend and intelligence, that really gets the best out of your craft?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the more exploratory ones, because it really is this puzzle that can be solved by understanding how change is happening in the world, how it's affecting
Mhm.
people, and then what it might possibly mean at the end of the day for this consumer in this country or city using this type of product.
Yeah.
Because it really does, cross the gamut of really needing to be able to understand different types of trends and how they're connected to one another. We often use this this concept of understanding the spaghetti. Like, you imagine, like, all the pieces of spaghetti, right? A big plate of spaghetti, and at one end of a piece of spaghetti is kind of that end consumer, using that service or product and being super satisfied and happy. And at the other end, it's like, well, why is it that this works? What were the forces in the world that were shaping the need and changing people, and ultimately, making it so that we needed this product or this service or this brand relationship or whatever it is? And to me, that's where you're really using trend intelligence in a big way, together with the specific insights that really kind of fuel that whole story.
I love that example. I feel like trend in that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like listening to you, trend and intelligence is external forces that are shaping the consumer and the human, whereas human insights, it's what's happening like inside.
Yeah.
And it's like an external versus an internal view that put together gives you a complete holistic view of everything, basically.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's like
That's it.
external forces versus internal motivation and internal sort of reactions to those forces. Yeah.
Like,
And
what
so,
does it mean to this person?
yeah. And so if you wanted to give advice to, you can say, give advice to companies who are looking to actually do this correctly. I would say, if you want to train all your clients to be perfect and ideal, another way of wording it, what would be the advice you give them?
I think it's about really kind of going back to one of your very first questions, really understanding what is a trend. And building a robust capability where you are looking at different kinds of trends at different levels. You're looking at those societal trends, those forces of change. You're looking at people lifestyle trends. You're looking at consumer trends and market trends and category trends. But build a robust capability to be able to do that. And obviously, the tools that you need to do that, a lot of them are more and more digital tools that allow us to do that. Making sure you have good digital platforms would be super important. And I think keeping your insights talent upskilled, in things like, are we leveraging AI? Are we leveraging generative AI? Are we, thinking about the different roles the insights professionals play, which a lot of time is facilitating and activating and inspiring, right? Trends are about inspiring, so I think it's just really understanding the power of trend intelligence and then building a robust capability where you're looking at some of those different parameters and then, equipping your talent with those.
Yeah. Does it have to be in-house? I'm listening to you and I'm feeling like it needs to be in-house. You need to own it. Or can you actually lean on partners?
I think you can lean on partners for sure. For sure. I know we have relationships with partners that bring, amazing value to us. We do have our own inside capability, but I know companies that don't. They just have really strong partnerships with people. The key is to be able to, again, kind of make sure there's a thorough understanding of the business or the brand, right? That's the key if you're going to use external, because you're constantly aligning it to that, or very deliberately going outside of your understanding of the brand to bring in some like new creative lens that you'll use. But you still have to have that really, incredible understanding of the business and the brand if you're going to rely on an outside agency.
Because that's the lens you have to look at trends through, right? It's the lens you have to look at things through.
Yeah. It's, generically looking at, there's a million different trends frameworks out there and companies that have their own trend language. So looking at that without really being able to understand the connection to your business, really in the end isn't that helpful for sure.
Yeah. What's exciting you the most about the future of trend intelligence?
Well, I am one of those people who is very excited about what's going on with generative AI. Because I've been experimenting with a lot of different ways to leverage Gen AI for trend analysis, for applying trend intelligence, for, co-creating with trend intelligence. And it's just been, first of all, just super fun. I just love the creative process in that way. So it's been really fun to do that, and to we've developed some, I would say some prompt sequences, if you're talking Gen AI language, that enable us to tap into our specific trend intelligence, layer that with, whatever Gen AI was trained on in a protective way. We use it in a protective way. We're not just using ChatGPT that's using our stuff.
You have to.
But I think that's really exciting, and it gives us even more power, because I think before we were doing a lot of this, creativity with our trend intelligence and application. But actually now it's easier to articulate and visualize and bring others into the process. I think it makes any type of co-creation and creative collaboration even more powerful, because at the end of the day, I think sometimes we have so many insights, and human brains can't absorb it all. but
No, I think
AI can.
yeah. I think we tap out at 7 and then we can
Yeah.
remember them for about 5 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sort of what the
Going
class
back to the attention spans being
Yeah,
short.
well, and then pair it up with the attention span we have today.
Yeah.
We're dead in the water.
Yeah. But Gen AI, you can feed it, all this
Mhm,
great insight that you have,
mhm,
great trend intelligence that you have, and teach it to really use that.
mhm.
And almost use that as a model for your human creation session.
Yeah.
And I just think there's so much possibility there and so much fun and creativity there.
Mhm.
And I think it's empowering for the insights professional and for the teams that you're working
Yeah.
with, so I'm excited about that right now.
Yeah. I'm excited by it too because I feel like that first question you might have, that first research question you might have is answered like that. And then you get to probe, you get to go deeper,
Yeah.
you get to be better
Yeah.
or push yourself to be better in the time, and we were talking about pace earlier, in the time frame that is still very much realistic and sort of attuned to what the business world needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we leverage it right, it frees up our creative brain,
Yeah.
where we were
Yeah.
having to do all sorts of things and organize things and do things that can be done now very, very
Mhm.
easily and in a more automated way. It really frees us up to tap into, some of those things that we see that
Yeah.
almost intuitively are like, oh, we should really explore that more. We should go down this path. So I
Yeah.
think it does free us up for that. So
Yeah. I feel like I always when you
exciting.
finish a project, sometimes it was really fast paced. You're like, you look back at it and you're like, we could have done that, or you're seeing something
Yes.
new. I feel like we get there the first time
Yeah.
much more easily, much more at a steady pace than
Mhm.
yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah.
This was a great discussion, Mimi. We could go on. This was awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I always ask the same questions to everyone at the end of the podcast.
Oh,
It's kind of
yeah, I
this
forgot
French
about
twist.
this.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is kind of the French twist. So I don't know if you're familiar with Bouillon Couture and Bernard Pivot, but alternatively, the Actor Studio. Remember James Lipton
Yes.
always
Yes.
ended his interviews with the 10
Yes.
questions. I will not ask you what your favorite swear
Okay.
word is, I promise. But that's what his inspiration was. So let me ask you the first one, which I really like, which is what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I always wanted to attempt journalism. I thought that would be really, really cool.
What's cool about journalism to you?
I just think it's like finding the story is
Mhm.
and I guess that's kind of similar to what we do, but finding the story and even photographic journalism, just kind of being able to maybe see something in a unique way and capture it, and just kind of a place to find things that are going on in the world that are really interesting and unique and talk
Yeah.
about them. Mhm.
I think based on your answer, don't leave trend intelligence that you're on your X. That's exactly where you need to be.
Maybe that's why I like it so much.
Yeah. I'm
I
like,
just thought
don't go
maybe
like
it wasn't
it's
too
sad for
different.
journalism, but don't leave trend intelligence. They need you. What is your favorite word?
That is my favorite word. So I don't know if I have a favorite word. For some reason, elegance comes to mind, but not elegance in like the way someone looks, but like the elegance of a solution or the elegance of the aha, or so I don't know.
Mm,
That's what comes to mind.
what's an elegant solution
I feel
to
like
you?
an elegant solution is something that is, it's clever, it's doable, um, it really uh, is something that hits the mark in being useful,
Mhm.
but it's not overly complicated. It's
Yeah.
just
It's just
has
right.
the perfect amount of work to benefit that it has, or something. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really funny that you say that, because growing up, there's a recording of me as a kid, and someone said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I just said elegant, because my grandmother was like that, and that was the word. And it stemmed through everything, to the extent that Sylveston's our capability stack has our promise to you is that we will provide you with an elegant solution.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
I
Oh,
did,
cool.
yeah. That's why I'm like, okay, we have the same definition of elegant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that's awesome. What is your least favorite word?
Right now, my least favorite word is probably, I don't know why this comes to mind. This is just top of mind here. Hurdle. I don't know. Hurdle, like
The phonetics
what are the
of the
hurdles we
word, or
have to
what it
jump
means?
over? The
Oh,
hurdle, like the challenges that get in the way. There's too many hurdles if we go this direction. I don't know. I've just heard people using this word, and for some reason I don't like the way it sounds. I don't think people are using it correctly sometimes. I don't know. Just comes to mind.
yeah. I feel like hurdle has a bad rep lately, and probably pivot. Like if I
Pivot.
hear pivot again, I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, because I used to love that word. I used to love the word pivot.
Well,
But
pivot
it's
was
just
like
overused
agility.
now.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
felt like strength and a superpower and agility. And
Yeah.
after the recent years, I feel like now it's just
It's
like
corporate
again.
speak. It's corporate
Yes.
jargon now. And
Yeah.
maybe that's
There's
hurdle too, but I don't know. This word keeps popping up in my in
yeah.
conversations. So I'm
And
like,
to
please
be
don't
quite
say.
honest, a hurdle doesn't inspire an elegant solution. Let's face it.
I don't think it does either. No.
No, it feels like the heels are off. You need to climb over something. Like it's just not.
Maybe it goes back to my like junior high days when they made me run track and do the hurdles, and like I never want to think about a hurdle again. I'm like 5'2" and they made me run hurdles. Like, oh,
Yeah, no.
bad memories.
And then my last question is, and you've got quite the career, and you've wrote a book. You need to come back, and we need to talk about your book.
Oh yeah, for
The,
sure.
the idea of like the going from the cafeteria and having a fabulous idea to then writing the book. So we need to you need to come back and talk about that,
Yeah.
and unpack that. But what is the one thing that a mentor has told or shared with you that still to this day kind of guides you and sort of helps you?
I mean, it's not so elegant, this response, but very early in my career, I had this opportunity to go out to customers and do a lot of customer presentations, because it was something that my immediate boss really didn't want to do. And I was like, oh, send me, I'll do it. I like to do that. I want to do that. And I just will never forget one of my very first big customer presentations. And I think I posed some questions to the group and to the audience. And I guess when the people were responding, I didn't pause long enough. I didn't let them, kind of generate their response or finish their thought. I think I tried to finish their sentence for them. And I know that's a really basic thing that a lot of people get coaching on and feedback on, but I'll tell you, I think about it all the time when I'm working with people, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a sales person that had given me this feedback, and the way that he did that was not like right after, because he knew I was like, "Who did that go okay?" I was young, I was nervous. We went out to lunch a few days afterwards, and he said, "Hey, I'd like to give you some feedback." And I was just like, I did that. I cut them. Oh my God. I felt so terrible. But then later I was like, thank you for taking me out to lunch and giving me that feedback. And I think, it's those little things that have such a huge impact on people. And you don't really get that unless someone truly is trying to help you and truly is trying to mentor you. And that was an informal, kind of mentorship. It wasn't anything formal. But that person I do consider a mentor because, he continued to do that. In everything that we did, he would help me and say, here's what, worked well. Here's what didn't. But I don't know why. For some reason, that particular feedback has always stayed with me.
Yeah. And I feel when you're young, you so want to prove yourself, and I feel like you need to prove yourself so much that just sitting there and
For
not saying
sure.
anything is not necessarily an option.
Yeah.
for your
I think that's
go-to.
it. I think it's emotional intelligence. It's professionalism. It's just maturity, really.
Yeah.
Realizing, you're not there for you to talk. You're there for the people you're talking to understand. And that when you realize that, and when you can realize that, then it makes a lot of sense, and it's obvious. But when you're young and you're just like, oh, I'm supposed to have all the answers. I better help out here and jump in, even though this person probably just needs a minute to get their thoughts together.
Yeah. And I think it becomes easier though, because I probably had someone told me the same thing. And then someone told me, you're too much of an extrovert. Like my enthusiasm was getting the better of me. And it still happens. Yeah. It still happens.
Yeah. Well, that's good too, right? Because you have that self-awareness. Like, I just want to react to everything because I'm an extrovert and I love this. Like, let's go back and forth. Yeah. But then you realize, oh, sometimes I need to deliberately not act on that.
And because I've been a moderator for almost half my life, actually, it shaped who I am as a person up to a certain point. But then I know how to switch it on or switch it off. And sometimes when I'm not moderating, that's where my enthusiasm will get the better of me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because when you're in a moderator sort of set, like it's different. But then when I'm just me, then I'm like, oh, the gloves are off. And sometimes I'm like, no, you still you're not moderating, but you're still, you need to, it's an interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Cause when you've got those very clear guard rules in that situation, and then you're just yourself with no guardrails in the other. Yeah,
and sometimes you still have to have a few guardrails or soft guardrails, or like it can't completely switch off.
Right.
This has been simply amazing, and thank you for bearing my voice. It's so weird today, but I really appreciate it. And you do have to come back and we can talk about the whole book. I've been dreaming of sitting down and going through that exercise for years and years. And I'd love to pick your brain and sort of spark inspiration on that part.
Oh, would love to do that. And some of it relates back to certainly what we're talking about today, and how you can specifically use storytelling with your insights, with your trend intelligence, with activating it, with learning more, with using it as a methodology. So we'd love to talk about that.
Yeah, it will definitely help people and it's inspiration as well. Amazing. Thank you. This was amazing. And thanks everyone for listening in. Thank you for bearing my voice. It will be better next time. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Mimi Sherlock. Please do share with your networks. Please do actually subscribe wherever you like to listen to your podcast. You can stay connected to us and make sure that you don't lose sight of our episodes. And stay tuned for episode 12 that is coming up, I believe, next week. So don't miss it. Subscribe. Tell all your friends. Have fun. Have a good day, baby.